Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the TradeStation Getting Started. My name is Jesus Nava. I'm the Director of Client Training and Education for TradeStation Securities. For me, it's always a pleasure to teach about the TradeStation platform and show you guys some tips and tricks on how to take advantage of the full potential of the TradeStation platform. Today, we're going to highlight the TradeStation Desktop. If you've been with TradeStation sometime, you already know that we have multiple platforms on which you can place your trades. And today we're going to highlight the flagship product, which is the TradeStation Desktop. Although there are sessions on web trading and we have sessions on mobile, which highlight the functionality on those platforms. But if you are looking for the more advanced utilities and the more advanced scanning and charting and trading tools available in our technology, this is the place you need to be. All right. So thank you, everyone, especially for those of you that are just joining TradeStation. Welcome to the TradeStation family. Let's go through some disclosures before we get started on the platform. Keep in mind that every symbol and idea that I talk about is for educational purposes only. These are not recommendations of TradeStation, and also that active trading is not suitable for everyone. Past historical performance is no guarantee of future results, and we all need to be aware of the risks that are associated with trading online. We have all the important links right here on this PowerPoint slide. You can go to www.tradestation.com/important-information for more details on these disclosures. Again, welcome everyone. Let's go ahead and switch over to my TradeStation platform here. All right, so this is the TradeStation Desktop. I already have it installed on my computer. When you first launch TradeStation, this is what you see. This is a TradeStation Today workspace, and it works exactly as a workspace. In fact, if you look at the bottom left of my TradeStation, you see the TS Today tab. Many of you, if you start using TradeStation, you may lose access to, not access, but you may not find where TradeStation Today is located. Just be aware that if you go to the apps menu where all the applications of the platform are, you'll find the TS Today button right there at the top. So this is a way for you to reopen TS Today. What is it that you can find here inside of TradeStation Today? Good morning, everyone. You can find quick start videos. So if you go to this drop down, we have a collection of 18 videos that kind of give you a general overview of the TradeStation applications. These are short videos, anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes, depending on the application being discussed. So make sure that you visit those videos if you want to have an overview on those applications. Right here at the bottom, we have recommended workspaces. Yes, TradeStation comes with built-in workspaces that you can use as templates. You can open those up and see how they're built. A lot of people use them as ideas on how to set up your workspaces and how to open up your applications as a starting point. Most of you maybe like to create workspaces from scratch, which is what I'm going to do today. But don't overlook the templates that are here. They're there for you to see if you find some use to them. Okay. Right here in the middle, we have a news feed. This is coming directly from a news provider, and it updates in real time. You can see that the latest news here is 25 minutes ago. I really don't have the details on how frequently this updates. I'm going to assume that it's real time. I just find it really difficult to believe that we haven't had a news article in the last 25 minutes. Maybe there's a time frame. I'm going to find out how often this updates, but this middle section right here on TradeStation Today was recently updated. So I don't have all the details on the technicalities of this API, but this feeds into our news provider, and you see updated news right here in the middle of the screen. Over here on the right, we have a section for events. You can see that the events here are a little bit outdated. It's already April 5th, no, 4th, 3rd. It's April 3rd, and we're showing, events here from March. We did have some technical issues with this technology, so I'm not going to talk much about this, but if you want to register for events and this was working, this would be a great way for you to find those. Even though it's broken here, you can go to the TradeStation website, go to Learn, and then go to Events, and you'll find all the events there. I would suppose that all of you that registered for this class had to go through the Events section and register for the Getting Started class. Make sure that you visit the events page periodically, because we're going to be posting different events, different topics, different descriptions. And if there's a session that really catches your attention, We want you to be there. We want to make sure that you're there and join us for those classes. The what's new section right here at the bottom right, if you're interested in knowing what is being fixed, what has been added, what has been enhanced on the TradeStation platform, that's the place to go. I'm going to come here to the bottom left of my platform. I'm going to click on that plus right next to that TS Today tab to open a brand new workspace. Anytime you need a new workspace, just click on that plus at the bottom. You can see that it opens an untitled workspace because I haven't saved it. But here I can choose the application that I want to see right here inside of this workspace. And I'm going to start here with a chart. Again, any questions, feel free to send those questions right here in the chat. We're here to interact with each other. And as I go through the functionality, feel free to send me any questions my way, okay? Let me resize this application so that it fills the whole area. When you open up a chart in TradeStation, it's going to be a default symbol. As you continue to use TradeStation, TradeStation remembers the last symbol that you were looking at. So if you notice here in the top left corner of my chart, you see apples. I was looking at Apple before doing this class, and it opens up a 5-minute chart of Apple. I think the default is 5 minutes, although you can change all those defaults. So if you want to always start with a daily chart, it's simple to do. Just go to data, go to edit symbol, set your interval to daily. Make sure that you set it as a default. And that way, every time you open up a chart, it'll be a daily time frame. But the 5-minute is just the default. So if you want to change that, remember that you can change any default in TradeStation. We want to make sure that the TradeStation is fully customizable so that it's a platform that fits your style, and you don't have to go through many changes just to make it look the way you want. So let's go back here to my chart. One of the things that I like to show everyone here that joins my class is shortcuts. As you're using TradeStation, these are things that make your use of the platform so much more efficient and easier to do. I like to use what's called the command line. And a lot of times I like to type in my commands. One of those commands is changing the symbol. I'm looking at Apple. Let's say, for example, that I want to look at Tesla. I just have to go into my keyboard, type in TSLA directly on my keyboard. As soon as I start typing, the command line pops up. You don't have to do anything special to bring it up. As soon as you start pressing keys on the keyboard, TradeStation will interpret that as you wanting to submit a command. And you can see that I typed in the symbol in there, TSLA. I didn't have to even click inside of there. As soon as you start typing, whatever you're typing is going to show up inside of the command line. And all I need to do is hit the enter key. And it changes the symbol to Tesla. If I type in CSCO for Cisco, hit enter, I'm looking at Cisco. If I type in MSFT and hit enter, I'm looking at Microsoft. So this is very easy for you to change the symbol right on the chart without having to go through the menus. Yes, the menus at the top are there for you to go through and change things about the chart, but the command line is pretty cool. If you want to change the time frame, you can also use the command line. Right now I'm looking at a 5-minute chart, but if I type in daily, the word daily, and I hit enter, then I'm looking at a daily chart of Microsoft. And if I type in the word weekly, hit enter, this is a weekly chart of Microsoft. So use the command line, practice. If I want to go back to a minute interval, let's say that I want to look at a 30-minute time frame, I just have to type in 30 space MIN. I use the abbreviation for minutes, MIN, hit enter, and then you have a 30-minute chart. Very cool, huh? One more thing, while you're in a minute time frame, you just need to type in a number and TradeStation will interpret that as a time frame. So take a look, I'm on a 30-minute chart, and if I type in the number 15, shows up inside my command line, I'd hit enter, I'm looking at a 15-minute chart of Microsoft. So I can type in 1, enter, this is a 1 minute, 5, enter, a 5-minute, 10. You can do even some odd numbers. If I want to do like a 71, this is a 71-minute chart of Microsoft. For whatever reason, I'm not sure why I picked 71, but I just wanted to show you the flexibility of charting where you can just type in a number and the chart will interpret that as a time frame. Yes, we have a dropdown. Jim is asking, do we have a dropdown for those changes? Time frame right here at the top. You go to this menu and you have a dropdown with different options. One of the things here, though, is that you cannot modify the options that are listed. These are things that will give you flexibility on the mobile app for you to change those options here, but this is pretty much hard-coded into the software. So these options cannot be modified. So as soon as you want something that is not listed here, you'd have to go to customize. Once you go to customize, then it takes you to this dialog. We saw it just a moment ago. This is where the main data customization happens. You can change the time frame, you can change the bar interval, you can change how much historical data you have, and a lot of other settings that we are probably not going to be able to explain because of time. When you, another thing that I wanted to show you here in the chart is find the up arrow and the down arrow keys on your keyboard, because it'll let you expand and contract the view. Up arrow key expands, down arrow key contracts, and it gives you less space in between bars so you can see more history. On my chart right now, and this may happen to you, and a lot of TradeStation users just sit there scratching their heads, is why is there black on my chart? Why doesn't it just fill my chart automatically? Unfortunately, TradeStation doesn't fill data automatically. So if I squeeze my chart and I squeeze it a lot, this is what's going to happen. All my candles are going to be squished over to the left-hand side, and I'm going to have this open space on the right-hand side because there's no data loaded on my chart. I only have maybe 30 days of historical data on Microsoft. The reason why this happens is because we want to make your TradeStation platform as efficient as possible. So we only give you a default amount of data. This does not mean that you have to go and jump through hoops in order to get to your data. You can even use the command line that I just showed you earlier to request data. For example, if I type in 6 months, any quantity of time, whether it is days, months, or years, are interpreted as a historical request of data. So if I do 6 months and I hit enter, it's going to load 6 months of data. You're going to see a PD right here on the top left corner. It appears there momentarily until it's able to download the data. And you can see that it downloaded 6 months of historical data for Microsoft. Not enough for the spacing that I have here on the chart, but I can load more. Let's do 2 years. Then you see the PD again here on the top left. It's going to start downloading historical data. And within seconds, I should have a chart. The nice thing about downloading the data is that it's already on your TradeStation, and you don't have to wait for the data next time, because what TradeStation does, it reads from your hard drive. It's very convenient, it's very responsive, it's very quick. So this is a 2-year chart of Microsoft at a 71 time interval. I'm not sure why I left it on 71, but let's go ahead and, if I change it to a 5-minute chart, notice that it goes back to just the default amount of data of 5 days. So maybe I have to type in my data request again, but notice that now the 2 years are there. Now I didn't get the PD on the top left corner because the data is in my hard drive, and you see how quickly my 2-year chart of Microsoft loaded. You know, pretty nice. All right, so let's see. Let me up arrow key to expand the view. Perfect. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about drawing tools and studies, because I know that many of you will want to know where those are. Studies are available here in the studies menu, and drawing tools are right here in the drawing menu. If I draw a horizontal line, I see the price of Microsoft at $421, pushing upward a little bit. Let's suppose that I'm going to be monitoring this high of yesterday. So I'm going to draw a horizontal line right here at the very top of that high, right there. I think that high was 422.38. Let's suppose that I want to be notified if the price of Microsoft breaks the high of yesterday. What I'm going to do is double click on that horizontal line, go to my alerts tab, and enable alert. That way, when Microsoft touches the line, I'm going to be notified. I can choose to be alerted continuously or once per bar, or I can say, let me do once per bar. I can click configure to change, the audible alert, the visual alert, and maybe set up an email to be sent to my email address if I'm going to be away from my computer and I want to be notified of something happening. All those settings you can do unique to this particular horizontal line or for the global settings. If you go back one level, you can see that this is using global messaging preferences, meaning that it'll be applied as a default for our alerts, or you can use custom settings for this particular line. I find it to be very useful. Once I click OK, then my line is hot. When Microsoft touches or breaks that line, I'm going to be alerted. So you can set up alerts on any drawing tool of TradeStation. I just used a horizontal line as an example. But let me go ahead and set this chart to a daily chart. All right, that's my daily chart. That's where my line is at the moment. Let's suppose that I want to draw a trend line. I'm going to go to the drawing menu, go to trend line, and click from this low to this low. Or maybe this one right here. There we go. So now we have a trend line. I'm going to double click on that trend line. Remember that all alerts are turned off by default. So make sure that you double click on the trend line or the study that you want to set up an alert on. Enable the alert. I'm going to say alert once per bar. Most of the time I do alert once per bar on a chart because alert continuously, if every single tick is touching that line from that moment on, it'll mean that every single tick will trigger that alert. So sometimes use it being aware of the behavior, because if you do alert continuously, that's exactly what it'll do. Sometimes alert continuously is done on scanning, so we can see real-time scanning happening in front of our eyes, and we're going to get to that in just a moment. But I'm going to click OK here, and then the line is already turned on for alerts, and now I have two on the chart. If price crosses above 422, it'll generate the alert, but if it drops below that trend line, it'll also give me an alert. Good. Let's go ahead and add some technical studies. I'm going to go here to studies and add a study. Studies, we have a whole list, hundreds of different technical studies that you can add to the chart. TradeStation is going to break them up into 5 different groups: indicators, show me's, paint bars, activity bars, and probability maps. Most of the indicators that are popular and that you would expect on a trading platform are going to be right here in indicator. Show me's, paint bars, and activity bars, and even probability maps are more like TradeStation's unique type of studies that you can also explore and see how they can help you. But let me go here to indicator and show something that we are all familiar with. I'm going to choose a moving average to line study, and I'm going to be looking for a crossover between those two lines. Let me click OK. When you do that, the lines go right onto the chart. Default colors, default parameters. I want to modify the parameters because I want to monitor a crossover between a 30 period and a 60 period. I don't think those are the defaults. So let me go ahead and double click on one of the lines. Again, notice the shortcut. I'm double clicking on items. Anytime that you want to modify a particular item on the TradeStation chart or platform, TradeStation allows you to double click. I find that to be very useful, although you can also use the menus at the top. If I wanted to modify that moving average, I could have gone here to studies, then go to edit studies, then highlight my moving average, and then click on customize. And it takes me to this dialog where I can change the inputs. Rather than doing that, I do this. I just double click on my lines and it takes me directly to that same dialog. So double clicking saves a lot of clicks. I'm going to go to the inputs, and this is where I enter the parameters that I need. I said that I wanted a 30 for the fast average and a 60 for the slow average. You have other settings that you can modify here. I'm not going to go into those, but just try to keep the presentation as simple as we can. I click OK, and then you can see how the two moving averages recalculate. We had a crossover a long time ago right here on November. We haven't had a crossover between these two averages since. It seems like Microsoft has been in an uptrend. There's been some correction periods, and the moving averages have gotten close to each other. For example, in this area where Microsoft moved sideways for several days, they moved closer to each other. But you can see that in this uptrend, the moving averages are still in its own direction and they haven't crossed. So maybe the moving averages here on this particular case, Microsoft, I'm not getting a clear signal or crossover. If you follow moving averages, you know that what you're looking for is a crossover between them to signal a change in trend. All right. Jim is asking, how do we request a new study like the TTM squeeze? Yeah, these are studies that sometimes are custom and proprietary to the designer of the study. I'm familiar with the TTM squeeze. which uses concepts of Bollinger and other studies that are part of the TradeStation platform. Um, of course, you can request them. Anytime you want to request something on the TradeStation platform, go to the apps menu and you're going to find a feedback button here with an orange exclamation mark. It allows you to communicate with the product owners, which are the ones who decide what's implemented on TradeStation. You can send any feedback there. Now, what I was trying to get to is that TTM squeeze, the calculations of that indicator are, I believe they're public, and anybody here at TradeStation can create custom studies on the platform. So maybe you don't have to wait until product owners make a decision that, oh, I'm going to implement that study here in TradeStation. But if you find a way that you can create that study and bring it into your TradeStation platform, you're very welcome to do so. We have Easy Language, which allows you to create custom studies and strategies. And I would not be surprised if a TradeStation user has already created something similar to the TTM squeeze, and you can find it in the TradeStation Easy Language Library. It's a discussion forum where people would share indicators and strategies that you can import into your TradeStation, all right? So those are more of my ideas. We do have a presentation. I did a presentation a long time ago that talked about the Bollinger Band squeeze, which I think it's similar to that. But yeah, any type of indicator that you'd like to request, make sure you go to apps and submit your feedback. Now, Rihanna is asking, when you draw on charts, will it show up on your app or only when you're looking at the chart you drew it on the platform? Good question, Ariana. That type of integration between the mobile app and the TradeStation Desktop is not yet there. So anything you draw here on the chart will only be visible on the chart that you drew it on. So these lines that I drew, the horizontal line and the trend line that I drew on Microsoft, are only visible in this Microsoft chart. If I go to the mobile device, unfortunately, I won't see them there. Eventually, TradeStation is working on some integration between our platforms, but at this time, not something we provide. Okay. Yes, TradeStation Easy Language is what I said, Jim. If you go here into apps, we have a development environment. If you go here, this is the application right here, Easy Language. It allows you to create studies and strategies. In fact, every study and every strategy that you applied inside of a TradeStation chart is already written in Easy Language. So if I right click on this moving average, for example, and I see the option here to edit the Easy Language for moving average to lines. If I click there, it opens up the development environment. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here, but this is the indicator. This is the code that controls that indicator. And as a TradeStation user, you have access to this code. You have access to modifying this code. Maybe you're not really happy with the way that the indicator is designed and you want to give it your own spin. You can do all that just accessing the programming of the indicator and changing it. And it's called the Easy Language for a reason. Even though it does have a learning curve, it's not something that requires a lot of programming experience. I don't consider myself to be a programmer, but I have knowledge on Easy Language. I know how to program in Easy Language because I have the basic concepts. So anytime that you want to create something, Easy Language is what is going to help you to create that custom work. All right, let's talk about moving averages. If I'm looking for a crossover, most likely what I need to do is turn on an alert here. So I'm going to double click on one of the lines on my moving averages, go to the alerts, similar to what I did here on the horizontal and the trend line. Go to alerts, enable alert, choose how I want to be alerted. In this case, I want to do an alert once per bar, and then click OK. And then I have 3 items on my chart that are working together, and they're going to generate alerts on Microsoft as they happen. I'm going to come here and create a new workspace now because I want to illustrate the point that even though I'm not looking at that chart anymore, TradeStation is still monitoring the prices tick by tick. And as soon as those alerts are triggered, it'll send me the alert, regardless of which workspace I'm on. I do need to have the workspace open, though. So this untitled workspace, let me go ahead and save it. Let me right-click on the tab, save the workspace. I'm going to call this chart with alert, and then save. And you can see that the tab is saved right here at the bottom. It's saved to my computer's hard drive, by the way. and I don't have to set it up again. Every time that I open up TradeStation, this workspace should open up. Let me go here to my untitled workspace too. Let me do some scanning here. Very simply, I'm going to go here to the radar screen. Radar screen is a power horse of the TradeStation platform because it does real-time scanning on hundreds of symbols simultaneously. Let me go ahead and open it up. When it first opens, it looks like a regular watch list, but it's much more than that. So if you want to use it just as a way of creating a watch list, you can. And you just have to come here and type the symbols manually. For example, MSFT, if you want to do Tesla. And as you type in the symbols and hit enter, TradeStation will provide a quote. If you're a futures trader, you can do ESM24 or the NQM24. Those are futures contracts. If you're trading options, you may also bring in some options. Let me see. MSFT space 240405 call 450. Let's see if that's a symbol. It is. Not a very active symbol, but when you type in an option symbol, it just comes up. This is a Microsoft April 24 450. You can see that it's a call right there. So any symbol that you know by heart, you can just type it in. We're going to do something a little different here because I want to use radar screen for scanning for alerts. I see Steve's question. Does the platform automatically draw support and resistance lines? It doesn't do it automatically. I mean, you have to do the visual exercise of looking at a chart and identify those support and resistance. There are some indicators that help you in visualizing those support and resistance levels, like price channels. You can use Keltner channels and try to use those as ways of identifying those support and resistance lines, but it's not something that we do automatically for you. Jim says that he tried to add the VIX to my watch list and it would not load. That would be the symbol $VIX.X. This is the CBOE volatility index. So sometimes symbology is going to change a little bit. If you're used to other platforms or other brokers, for the volatility index, it's going to be $VIX.X. And that's the way that the data comes through. If you're not getting data, it may be because you're not subscribed to that specific data package. TradeStation only gives you real-time data on the data packages that you select and you subscribe to. So also be aware of that. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some scanning features. I'm going to load a list of symbols, something pre-packaged already. I'm going to go to data, add a symbol list. And from this menu, I have the S&P 500. 500 companies that make up the S&P 500 index. You can go into other symbol lists and explore. We have stock symbols and index symbols and futures and all sorts of different symbol lists pre-packaged and created for you. But I'm going to keep things simple. I'm going to use the S&P 500. When I click it, it loads the 500 symbols that make up the S&P 500 index. And I'm going to scan this list of symbols to find symbols that are crossing the moving averages, the same symbol or the same idea that I applied on Microsoft. So let's go ahead and set this up. I'm going to resize my radar screen so it doesn't use up all my screen because I want to open up a chart here. Apps, chart analysis. I'm going to bring it here. I'm going to drag it here to the right-hand side and resize it. I'm going to make my chart a daily time frame. And I'm going to bring in my moving average to line. Same symbol or same indicator we used in our prior example. Moving average to lines right here. Okay, for this example, I'm going to use default settings. I don't want to complicate things. I am going to change the symbol here to Apple. All right. And one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to link the two windows together, radar screen with the chart. Why? Because it's simple for me to click on a symbol on radar screen and have my chart update to that symbol. So let me go ahead and click on these linking buttons. The S is a symbol linking button. The I is an interval link button, which also links the time frame. But in this case, I want to be able to click on a symbol here like Adobe and have the chart update to that symbol. Maybe I want to take a look at American Airlines. I click it, and then the chart updates automatically. These symbol links are very convenient, so make sure that you use them if you want to connect windows together. One thing, and this is where, RadarScreen really shines. Let me scroll here to the right-hand side. I'm going to remove a few of the columns here that I don't need. I don't need bid, ask, high, or low. So I'm going to click and drag my mouse across those 4 column headers, and I'm just going to press delete on the keyboard, gets rid of them. And I'm going to add columns of my own. So I'm going to click on this plus, which is the same thing as clicking on add study. If you don't see the plus here, just go to studies and click on add study. Same thing. I'm going to click here and add an additional column, and I'm going to use the moving average 2 lines. And I said, this is where this quotes window, this is where it really shines. This functionality sets it apart from any other watch list because you're able to bring in technical studies and visualize those technical values on a spreadsheet format. So I'm going to add the moving average 2 lines. I'm going to put it right here at the very end. You can use the move up or move down to arrange the columns here if you need to. I'm going to click OK, and that adds the moving average 2 line study to my radar screen. You can see the values are coming through very quickly. Let me go ahead and remove the S&P index symbol from the top. And I'm also going to remove this label. This is just a label row. I can also delete it if I want to keep just the symbols on my screen. All right, so let's see. I click on A. This is Agilent Technologies. You can see the moving averages up here, 144.18, 144.24, but they don't match the moving averages here inside of my chart. In my chart, I have 146.50, 145.86, which are not the numbers that I see here in my radar screen. The reason for that is because radar screen also has this little guy up here on the left-hand side, which is the interval. Since we are using technical ideas or technical indicators inside of radar screen, there's got to be a time frame component. I'm going to calculate these moving averages using what type of data? So this is using 5-minute data, and my chart is using daily time frame. That's why there is a mismatch. But if I change the interval, I'd have to select the symbols. Remember that the symbol is what carries the time frame. So if I want to change the interval, I have to go here to the symbol column, select all symbols, and I do that very quickly by just clicking on the header. If you notice, when I click on the header of any of these columns, it highlights the whole column. So once I have everything highlighted, I just go to the time frame little button here in the top, similar to the one we saw in charting, and I select daily. Now you can see that daily shows up in my interval column, and my moving average is being calculated one by one. This is pretty cool. Something's happening very quickly in the background, but TradeStation is downloading historical data for each one of these symbols and making the calculations to give you those moving averages right here on the screen. And I see that my radar screen is still populating slowly, but as it does, I'm going to compare now my moving averages for Agilent Technologies. Take a look at 145.87, 146.50. 146.50, 145.87. They match exactly because now we're using the same technical idea and the same time frame. I'm just saying this so that you are aware when you're comparing radar screen values with charting, and you're not, confused as to why are they not matching. So make sure that you're checking all places to make sure that they align in terms of calculations. All right, so let's see. Let's scroll down here. This is still working. It's a lot. It's 500 symbols being updated tick by tick. You can see the volume numbers here, how they're changing in real time. Now there's not a lot of flashing here in my radar screen, but I can see the numbers updating tick by tick. So yes, it's intensive because I'm updating or trying to update 500 symbols that are probably trading hundreds of times every second in real time. And at the same time, keeping these calculations updated based on historical movements. A lot of things going. And at the same time, I have this Zoom webinar going on. I'm streaming live. I have my webcam on. I have other applications running. So make sure that if you're going to be doing scanning, that you have a powerful computer to do it. Otherwise, you may start seeing some performance issues. A lot of times, people ask me, okay, what type of computer do I need to run TradeStation? And I always say, just use something that it's powerful or get the most resources that you need. But you probably don't need to. It all depends on the type of TradeStation user that you are. Now, sometimes you may be content with just keeping an eye on a couple symbols and that's it. You're probably not even interested in running scans on hundreds of symbols. Maybe that's not your thing, and that's okay. That's your style. So TradeStation, the nice thing about TradeStation is that it's customizable to any type of trading style. But let me show you exactly what I mean by doing scans here. So this is probably loaded already. You guys remember what we did on Microsoft? That we set up an alert so that if they were crossing, they would tell us. I mean, that alert would actually notify you that something's happening and there may be a change in trend because I have the moving averages crossing. So the question here is, out of all these 500 symbols, I mean, which ones are crossing right now? That's what I want to find out. That's the type of scanning that I'm interested in. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to highlight the whole column. So I'm going to click on the header for moving average 2 lines. I'm going to right click on the header and go to studies. And I could go to the studies button at the top too. Sometimes I like to do the right clicking, just a preference. Menus are accessible from any type of click, at the top or on the right click. I'm going to edit the moving average for all symbols. Now I have the same settings that we saw before. I'm going to go to the alerts. I'm going to enable the alert. I'm going to, this time, I want the alert to be continuous because I'm going to use it as a scanning feature and I want it to be real time. So if any tick is triggering the alert, I want to be notified of that. But in combination with that, I'm going to disable messaging. I don't want any sounds. I don't want any pop-ups because the least I want to do is have to click through 500 notification messages if the market does a big turn and all these symbols decide that they want to cross right now. So that's something that you want to avoid because it'll hang up your computer. So a lot of times when you're doing scans on hundreds of symbols, yeah, disable messaging. You don't need messaging for that. You want to do a visual scan, something that I'm going to show you right now. So I'm going to do none for messaging, and I'm just going to click OK. When I do that, you're going to see little markers on the moving average column. A yellow little corner shows up on every row where an alert is set. We did it on the whole 500 symbols, so every row will have that yellow marker. But every so often, you're going to see one that has a red marker. Like over here, we have ABBV showing me a red marker. And if I click on that symbol, you can see how the 2 lines are crossing right now. That's the beauty of setting up an alert and radar screen on hundreds of symbols, that it helps you identify the symbols that are meeting certain criteria. If I scroll down and I find my next red marker, this is Baxter International. If I click it, then you can see how the 2 moving averages are crossing right now. Some of these crossovers are going to be very clear in terms of it's been on an uptrend or a downtrend for some time already, and they cross at the moment or right now. And that's a very clear signal. Sometimes they may not be as clear as they could. For example, especially if you have back-to-back crossovers. Like, for example, a few days we had a crossover to the downside, and then a few days after we had a crossover to the upside. So now, which one is it? Is it bearish? Is it bullish? So it's kind of hard to say. But the nice thing is that I'm able to identify those that are crossing right now. And the nice thing is that I can do that with any technical study that you can think of. I'm using moving average 2 lines, which is something that is built into the platform. And it's simple to understand. But if you want to bring in more technical ideas, for example, one that was suggested earlier, like the TTM squeeze, and be able to program that into TradeStation and scan based on that alert, something that you can do. How many symbols are triggering the alert right now? Well, I can filter my radar screen using alerts. Right here at the top, I have a filter bar that allows me to go into the dropdown, select a moving average. The operator, I can set it to alert, and I want true alerts. And here they are. Out of 500 symbols, 21 are triggering the alert of the moving average as we speak in real time. And this is a dynamic list. Right now I have 21. but you're going to see symbols being dropped and added in real time based on that real time alert. That's why the alert is continuous, because it's calculating every single tick and monitoring the symbols in real time. But then I can very quickly find any symbol that I may be interested in trading based on that technical idea only, or maybe not a symbol that I want to trade, but maybe a symbol that I want to look into a little bit further and try to investigate why is it experiencing that behavior. So those are things that are very valuable to traders in terms of, tell me what's happening in the market and tell me where is it that I need to, focus my attention on. So Ariana, the crossovers tells us on the moving average, simple idea. The crossover just tells you that there's a possible change in trend. So, as the moving averages are separating, they may be in an uptrend or a downtrend, but as soon as they cross, it's because there is a tendency for the trend to change or shift directions. All right, that's scanning. As I said before, this is just one simple example, but you can continue to add more filters, and you can scan the list of symbols the way that you want to. If I didn't want to use moving averages, for example, I can use other filtering based on the values that are listed here. So if I want to know, out of all the 500 symbols in the S&P 500, which one is the one that has the most volume? Notice that I have volume today here. If you double click on any of these column headers, it'll sort. One time, it'll be in ascending order. You double click again, and it'll be in descending order. So now I can tell that the symbol that is traded the most out of the 500 is Tesla, with 32 million shares traded. I see the value of those shares right here. If you want to see which one is the cheapest stock out of the 500, double click on last. The cheapest stock is right here, WBD, which is Warner Bros. The most expensive, double click again, and it's right here, NVR. So all those things, which ones has changed the most? Double click on net percent change. We have one loser here, 13% of its price lost from the close of yesterday. This is Ulta. This is Ulta Beauty. And if you want to see on the opposite side, which one has gained the most, double click, and it's right here. GE has gained 5% since the close of yesterday. So these are ranking features that are part of the column. Just double click on it. And you have also the filtering functionalities that filter on a technical idea. All right. That's on scanning. Let's go over here and show you a little bit on trading. I'm going to open up the matrix for that. Steve, there is a news window. I see your question. Does it have a news feed? Just go to the apps menu and open up news. Now, the news application, it allows you, it's going to prompt you. Well, it opens up with all headlines, and you can just double click on any of these headlines, and it'll give you the news item. Not very graphical, there's not a lot of pictures here. If you use the news app on the mobile device or web trading, you're going to see that there's a little bit more graphical interface where you have pictures and it's a little bit more visually attractive. But news is also fed into the news app right here into TradeStation. Okay, let me make my font a little bit bigger here. By the way, you can change the font size on any window of TradeStation. I do it here because the matrix usually shows up with small font. I'm going to resize my matrix, and then I'm just going to open up another chart analysis and put it here on the right-hand side. I like to have a chart because it allows me to see where my orders are in relationship to the market. I'm going to turn this chart into a daily time frame, and I'm going to link my chart to my matrix with the S. That way, if I change the symbol here on my chart and I want to take a look at Verizon, this is Verizon. You can see that my matrix also changes to Verizon. What is it that I see here on matrix? Well, I see the last traded price, which is right there in the middle, 42.68. I see, all the other prices in relationship to that current trading price. I see a blue column and red column, which designates buyers and sellers. The numbers that you see right here in the blue are orders that are waiting to get filled at each one of these prices. These are all buyers. They always want to buy at a lower price. You see the prices going down here. As the prices go up, then we have the sellers. These are selling transactions that have been already submitted for execution, and market makers are holding on to those orders, and we see and get visibility of those orders. So the numbers that you see here are actual number of shares being sold at each one of those prices. In parentheses, you have the number of market makers that are participating in that group. Okay? And Ariana is asking, does your data package dictate what you see in the matrix? Yes, it does. So my matrix, I think it's turned on for full market depth, or what we call level 2. If that data is not turned on inside of your TradeStation, then what you'll see here is just the inside bid and ask. You'll probably see just one red and one blue number, which is the inside bid and ask. But if you want to see the depth of the market and see the other orders sitting in the books, then you have to sign up for that data. It's called level 2 and see the full numbers here. Either way, if you have the data or don't have the data, the functionality or the trading functionality is still there. You can still place trades. For example, if I want to join all these orders that are trading at 42.65, let's say that that's the price that I want to get into, and I want to trade 1,000 shares. Let me go here into the quantity, type in 1,000, then come back here into the blue, hover over the price that I want, which is 42.62, but on the buy side. And you can double check because on the left, it kind of gives you a visual of what the order is going to be. It's going to be buy 1,000 limit. So if I click on this sell, it's going to send that order, buy 1,000 Verizon at 42.65. Confirmations are turned on by default. I'm going to check this box that says, don't show me this again for matrix equity orders, because I want to turn my matrix into a one-click order entry tool, and you're welcome to do it if you want. Confirmations are good because it allows you to double check your work, especially if you're learning the technology. It's good to have a confirmation on just to double check your work. But once you're familiar, you can make this very quickly by sending it, and you can see that my order got filled immediately. It seems like it dropped when I submitted my order. I'm using a trading simulator, by the way, and the trading simulator tries to mimic real market behavior as closely as possible. Steve, the cost for level 2, I'm not really sure what the exact number is. There are different packages that you can sign up for, though. That I know. Every ECN market maker has branched into its own kind of provider of data. So you can go there and see what each one of those cost. And if you want to add them all, you know, TradeStation will just give you what the total fee would be, but I don't have the exact number. I'm not sure, Jim. So let's, for fees, let's check the website. If you go to the Client Center on TradeStation.com, it'll give you a place where you can edit your data packages, and you can see it's a la carte menu. You just choose whatever you want to turn on, and you can turn it on, and you can see that those data packages turned on the inside of your account. So I got filled at 42.65, and I see my position open. You can see real-time P&L here on the left-hand side. I'm able to set profit targets and stop losses as an OCO. I didn't notice the time, and I'm kind of running out of time, but it's okay. If I want to place like a bracket, I have a drop-down with different options. You know, at this point, it may seem a little bit complex, but it's not. It's just different number of orders that are connected with each other. I'm going to use this one, which is a simple bracket, exit bracket with one limit, one stop. Just a simple 2-order setup. And if I place that order, it'll go right here on the screen. You can see those 2 red boxes. Those are exit transactions. They're bracketing my position and will take me out at those levels. Clicking and dragging is very useful here in the matrix, because if I want to raise my profit target, I can just click and drag. And if I want to move my stop, I can do click and drag. You can click and drag in any direction to cancel, replace the original trade. And it's also reflected here on my chart. And that's why one of the reasons why I opened up the chart was to see my trading activity here on my chart. If I bring this into a 60-minute chart, I may be able to see those orders a little bit better. Since Verizon has been on a uptrend recently, but you can see those orders here on the top, and you can see expected, profit and loss. If you wanted to trade on the chart, you do have to turn on something called chart trading. So you click on this button here at the top of the chart, and it enables a similar, trade bar to the one we see here on the matrix, but on the chart. Turning this on allows me to click on those little lines and drag them myself on the chart. And any adjustment that I do here on the chart is also reflected here inside of the matrix. So all these order entry tools are interconnected, and what I want you guys to do is to explore. We have different videos on the TradeStation website. Make sure that you're using the videos here on TradeStation today, especially if you're interested in learning about the matrix. We have here number 7 is single click trading using the matrix. If you want to use the chart, we have number 8 is plays and manage trades using chart trading. So those two features have a video right here on TradeStation today. And I just want you to be aware that there's resources for you to use those functionalities. Order filled. And I just got filled. I just heard my computer say that I was filled. Yeah, it took me out of my Verizon trade. I think my stop was really tight and it took me out. All right, so that's it. That's my class today. I didn't see any more questions here. I want to appreciate your time. Thank you for joining me today. Keep in mind that we meet here every single Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So if you have any questions, want a refresher in any of our applications, make sure to join us. Eventually, we're going to add a class to our roster of, I always wanted to do a class that's just dedicated to Q&A. And that way, you can get all your questions answered. And so look out for that class in the event schedule. Also look at all the other events that are upcoming. Register for anyone that catches your attention. And if you have any questions, please email us at education@tradestation.com. Let me go ahead and put that email address right here. Any questions on, files that we share, YouTube videos, where to find stuff, just send us an email there and we'll reply to your message. Thank you everyone for your time. Have a wonderful day. Great having you. Bye-bye.